Hello everyone, my name is Jonothan Eves. Thanks very much for joining me today. In this video I will demonstrate Identity Services Engine and the multiple matrix feature as found in ISE 2.2. So let's jump over to ISE. You can find the multiple matrices under Work Center and the TrustSec menu and down to TrustSec Policy. And you can see we have a number of policies configured in ISE here as an example. So to begin with, why would you want to use multiple matrices? Well, one reason may be to have a different policy matrix per location. So you could have one for North America, for example, and one for EMEAR. Maybe you could have a different policy for different roles, so development sites and joint venture sites as examples. Or maybe you'd have different matrices for different states, so for heightened threat states or for high-risk sites. So there are just some examples where you may use different policy matrices. Now what you do is your network access devices, you assign them to use different policies. So for example, I have one that's using the development sites matrix, and that happens to be a 4500X. And if we go back, I have one network access device which is assigned and using the joint venture sites matrix, and if I click on that, this happens to be a 3560CX. Now to look at the matrices themselves, let's have a look at the development sites matrix to see how that's built up. And you read this matrix as you do normally. I mean, down the left hand side you have source group, and across the top you have destination group, and the intersection is the SGACL. So from guests to dev servers, and from high risk personnel to dev servers, I have deny IP. Or if you read it in terms of security group tags, from 8 to 7 and from 3 to 7 we have this SGACL. So looking at the 4500 itself, which is assigned to this development sites matrix, we can have a look at these policies, and you can see it's resident. It's been downloaded from ISE already on the switch. So from 3 to 7 and 8 to 7 we have this deny IP SGACL. Equally, we can jump over to the joint venture sites matrix, but here it's a different matrix. So we have from guests to joint venture services, and from high risk personnel to joint venture services I have this deny IP. And in terms of SGTs, from 8 to 6 and from 3 to 6. So if we look at the 3560CX, there you go, from 8 to 6 and 3 to 6 we have this deny IP. So these two switches are using a different matrix which has different policy. Now what's interesting is that if we go back to the matrix list, let's say you have a heightened threat maybe on the development site. What you might want to do is assign a different policy to the development sites, or at least to a particular network access device. So if we look at our heightened threat state matrix, we'll see how it's been set up as an example. Again, you read the source down the left and destination across the top, and the intersection is the SGACL. And you can see we have a lot more denies in this matrix, and particularly for guests. So from guests to a lot of destinations, and from a lot of destinations to guest, we have a lot of these deny IPs. So really this is blocking guest traffic on your network. So what if you want to actually activate this heightened threat state to your 4500? What you can do is assign NADs. You can choose your 4500 and you can select your heightened threat state, and you can assign it, close and send. Now that's saving the state, and what you can do on ISE is push the change. So if we do a push, you can see radius change of authorization message are being sent down to the switches, and you can see the switches are being updated. But if we have a look at the update on the 4500, you can see the 4500 has now downloaded the new matrix for the heightened threat state. If we do a refresh on the 3560, this has not changed. This has stayed to its previous matrix. So you can see not only can you define different matrices, you can reassign your NADs depending on the state of the sites. And we've just showed an example. If there's a heightened threat state, you can change your 4500 and put it into the heightened threat state matrix. And of course, once the threat has subsided, you could assign NADs, you could choose your 4500, you could put it back to your development site matrix, you can assign it, close and send. ISE will save that state, and it'll notify you when it's ready to send a radius change of authorization. There's the one. We can push the change. We can see a radius change of authorization has gone down to the switches. If we do a refresh on the 4500, this has gone back to how it was before, i.e. this is assigned to the development sites matrix. If we look at the 3560, this has stayed as it was before, from 3 to 6 and from 8 to 6. So that's a demonstration of multiple matrices on ISE 2.2. So it concludes the demonstration. Thanks very much for watching. For more information, please visit www.cisco.com/go/TrustSec.